DC Comics' Absolute Universe is its most recent retelling of its iconic characters, and its breakout issue is Absolute Batman #1, in which we're getting a very different Batman and a different Bruce Wayne with an all-new origin. Now, let's jump into the story. We start off by seeing the Gotham City skyline, as well as the inner monologue of a motorcyclist that's driving throughout the city. And this is someone who's been here before because he's talking about how much the city has changed and he has trouble finding a specific location that he's looking for. But then when he eventually finds it, the cyclist takes off his helmet and it's revealed that this is Alfred Pennyworth. And apparently, he's here to do some bad things. And as he picks up a box of his favorite tea, he goes next door to where he has his hideout. So we're immediately hit with the change in Alfred. He's not a butler because we're soon going to see that there is no Wayne Manor. The Waynes aren't this rich, influential kings of Gotham City. In this universe, the Waynes are just a simple working class family. And Alfred is back in Gotham, but not to serve the rich and the wealthy, but to serve the powers that be. Because Alfred is a highly trained elite spy who's here to gather intelligence on a new threat for Gotham City. And he's getting information from his handlers as far as what exactly he needs to do and who exactly he's here to follow. Not just that, he's also trying to get in touch with his daughter, Julia. Now we know in other universes, Alfred does have a daughter named Julia, who he had with Mademoiselle Marie. I don't know if that's the case in this universe, but by the way she didn't answer his call, there's definitely some daddy-daughter issues going on here. And once he's done doing what he has to do in this spot, he walks outside to go back to his bike. And lo and behold, Gotham City delivers a welcome back present for Alfred in the form of Grand Theft Auto, because his bike is nowhere to be seen. And next we're brought to Croc's gym, which is obviously a reference to Killer Croc. Now since this is another universe, we're obviously going to see familiar names and faces, but with their stories completely turned upside down. And as we're taken inside the gym, we see a dark-haired individual kicking and punching a bag, talking to himself, telling him that he has no fear, he has no weakness, and right away it's easy to think that this has to be Bruce Wayne. That's until another individual about 3 times this guy's size butts in, claiming that it's his turn. And immediately we see that this giant of a man is this universe's Bruce Wayne. And as the previous brawler tucks tail and walks away, Bruce 2.0 starts to wail on the bag. And at this point, we're given a trip down memory lane because we're going to get a glimpse into Batman/Bruce Wayne's childhood. And we find a young Bruce Wayne on a class trip to Gotham Zoo, where he's enamored by the informative poster promoting the Bat exhibit, until he's called over by his teacher to rejoin the class as they continue their tour. And this is where we learn that Bruce's teacher is actually his father. And just then, the zoo is filled with sounds of gunfire. And that's where the flashback ends, and now we're brought back to current day, where Bruce has landed a devastating blow on the heavy bag, which rips it in half, and sand explodes everywhere, which causes the owner of the gym, Waylon Jones, who in other universes is the villain Killer Croc. He just looks at Bruce and is like, really? So during this interaction, we learn that Bruce in this universe is childhood friends with familiar villains, such as Killer Croc, Penguin, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, and of course, Catwoman. Now obviously, we haven't yet learned their roles in this universe yet, but during their little discussion, they do hint that the Penguin, aka Ozzy, has been known to get into a little bit of mischief in the way of small-time crime. And as they conclude, Waylon is trying to get Bruce to come to their poker game, and Bruce just plainly says to him that he can't. And Waylon asks, if you're not going to come hang out with us, are you at least going to go to the town hall tonight? Because there is a huge threat in Gotham. There's a violent gang going around murdering and maiming people who call themselves the Party Animals. And these are actually the guys who Alfred is in town to gather intel on as well. But Bruce just goes ahead and just says, you know what, I can't. And finally, Waylon is just frustrated with him and asks him, what is going on with you? To which Bruce gives no reply. Now we're taken to a yacht that's parked in Gotham Harbor. And the owner of this yacht, we can plainly see, is Black Mask. So in this universe, it seems like he's still playing a very similar role than what we're used to as a violent criminal boss. And he's hosting some sort of get-together with these other 2 criminal bosses from the Falcone and Maroney crime family. So they're confronting Black Mask about this new gang, the Party Animals, saying that they've heard that these guys belong to him. And how dare they come to Gotham and just rip through the streets causing death and destruction. And that this is their city and they deserve some respect. These 2 guys, they were right about the Party Animals being under the direction of Black Mask, because I'm pretty sure these guys are just another version of the False Facers, a similar looking group that Black Mask has been in charge of in other universes. But they were dead wrong in thinking that he was going to give them some kind of respect, because their meeting ends with one of them being choked to death and the other getting a knife inserted into each eye socket. Now back in the city during a town hall event conducted by Mayor Jim Gordon, the people are enraged. They're saying that the police, the city, they can't protect us from these animals, and they're pointing the finger at Jim Gordon. Meanwhile, Jim is trying to keep the peace and to spell out the difficulties that they're having trying to track down and capture this gang. And while all that's going on inside, outside upon the rooftops, we see Alfred decked out in tactical gear and weaponry. And he's speaking to his handlers through his intercom system because the Party Animals are on site and they're approaching the town hall. And per his orders, his handlers are telling him to not intervene, only to observe. Now, back inside, as the tempers are flaring inside the town hall, a woman steps up and she's talking about what's going on, saying that we're not going to get anywhere divided, but as a community, if we come together, we may be able to solve these problems. And while she's starting to make some sense, an explosion goes off, and 3 members of the party animals barge in, guns pointed at the mayor. And while everyone's cowering down in their seats, one of these psychopaths opens fire and shoots down Jim Gordon. Now, it doesn't seem like he's dead, but it does look like he's injured as one of the police officers comes to his side. And during the exchange of where she tries to comfort him, this is where we see that this is actually Barbara Gordon, his daughter. And then without warning, out of nowhere, these 3 party animals are forcibly pulled back outside, and then the doors slam behind them. And then Officer Barbara Gordon runs to the doors to see exactly what happened. And as she cracks through the door and peers outside, and what she sees is the face of a masked vigilante hung upside down, telling her that no matter what she hears, do not open these doors. And again, off in the distance, Alfred is on the rooftop and he's observing all of this. And he's getting questioned by his handlers exactly what's happening. Are there any casualties? He reports there are none. However, another player has entered the scene and he's ordered to engage this new player if he interrupts his intelligence gathering. And meanwhile, while the 3 party animals that just got yanked out of City Hall, they're coming to their senses and they're trying to figure out what exactly happened. And that's when they notice this thing that looks like a giant bat hanging from the rafters above the entrance to City Hall. And they aim their guns and they fire. And as the rounds hit this thing, it's just bouncing off because Batman has himself wrapped up in his cape, and apparently his cape is completely bulletproof. And then he suddenly drops a smoke bomb, which gives him enough cover for him to land safely to the ground. And as soon as he does, he jumps into action because this cape that he has is mimicking the wings of an actual bat. It's flexible and fast, but at the same time can be rigid and strong. And at the end of each one of these wings are hooks that he uses to grab enemies while he's fighting. And he's flinging guys into 2nd-story buildings, throwing them into light poles, and uses them to elevate himself from the ground to deliver unique and devastating attacks. And you can tell that Alfred, as he's witnessing all this, he's starting to like this guy's style because his handlers are asking him, is he disturbing the scene? What's going on? And Alfred's like, nope, still gathering data. Now, these 3 guys were just a small part of the larger pack that's there. And as they're running up the stairs, weapons in hand, charging up the Batman, he meets them head on and showcases some of the other weapons he has in his arsenal. Because the pointy ears on his cowl aren't just for decoration. He actually reaches up and grabs them, and as he pulls them out, on the other ends are blades. And then he flings them into the crowd. And it seems like they act something similar to the Batarang because we see them hitting some of these guys in the face while at the same time stabbing others. And then he deploys the hooks on his gauntlets and then kicks and punches his way through the crowd until finally he meets up with their heavy, some yoked up steroid using Bane wannabe wielding a meat cleaver. But Batman is not done showing off his gadgetry because he pulls out from his side what looks like some sort of short staff, and then he attaches it to his chest because that bat emblem on his chest, as odd and bulky as it is and not what we're used to, actually turns itself into a battle axe. And in less than a heartbeat, Batman separates the heavy's hand from his arm. And this takes the fight out of the rest of the pack because I'm sure they're looking at Batman wondering, who is this guy? Because Batman just screams at him for all of them to get out of his way. And lo and behold, they listen and they run for it. And as these guys are running down the stairs, Batman pulls out a detonator, pushes the button, and blows all of them up. Now again, Alfred is up there just watching all this happen. And he is noticing the violence of which Batman is demonstrating, but he does point out that as he's watching his knife work, he's watching how he punches and kicks everybody, and even the explosion. None of these moves are actually deadly. So in this universe, Batman still has his code of conduct. He still values human life. That was a question I had going into the series, if they were going to make Batman be okay with killing people. But it seems like they're sticking to the original Batman's code of honor. But regardless, Alfred is ordered to go engage on this new player. So that's what he does. He jumps down, pulls out his customized super deadly shotgun, and points it to the back of Batman's head. Because Batman is actually bent down observing one of these masks that the party animals wear. But before Alfred is able to demand any type of order from Batman, Batman quickly disarms him and disappears. Now, as we're entering into the next portion of the story, even though Batman disappeared from Alfred in that moment, Alfred was still able to track him down because he's shadowing him and gathering intel as to who he is and why he's doing what he's doing. And as Alfred's doing this, is showing us the reader exactly who our new Batman is. So back at the Gotham Zoo when Bruce was still as a kid and his father was his teacher, and we heard those gunshots going off. So immediately Thomas Wayne takes a class and they actually run into the Bat exhibit to hide out. And as he's shoving the class into this room, he tells everyone inside that no matter what they do, do not open this door. and then he shuts it. And as soon as he does, he's gunned down. Now, we don't know why this crazy person went around shooting people at the zoo, but it's not surprising that Bruce, as a child in this universe, still suffered the same sort of trauma that the original Bruce had gone through in the traditional storyline. And in this time around, Bruce actually won an engineering competition where he designed a collapsible bridge system to help people during natural disasters. And this is obviously the basis for his current bat suit. So the reward for winning that competition, he was able to take his class on a free trip to Gotham Zoo. And after this event, of course, Bruce did go a little off the rails. He got into trouble with the law a bit, but then he got his life together and he actually performed very well in football, and he got himself a scholarship to college where he learned all about engineering, chemistry, criminal psychology, military theory. And then Alfred was able to figure out that Bruce actually lied about an injury, which got him kicked off the football team, which was strange at the time, but in Bruce's plans, I guess made a lot of sense because his dream wasn't to go pro, even though he had the ability to do so, but instead he started to work for the utility departments in Gotham, the power company, the sanitation company, at the water department, and eventually becoming an engineer. So during this time, Bruce was learning the body and brain and heart of Gotham City. Not only learning it, but helping to build it up as well as rebuild it. Because after he blew up those stairs, the very next day, he was part of the crew to help rebuild the staircase leading up to City Hall. Now, Alfred thinks this is impressive, and he sees Bruce's potential to become something more than he is now. And he labels him a crusader, and he says to himself, he's taken down men with the same ambition that Bruce has, because every single one of them had a weakness, and Bruce's weakness is for his mother. So this is another place where this story differs from the original, because instead of both of his parents dying in one incident, Bruce only loses his father at the zoo. His mother is still alive. She's actually a social worker here in Gotham, and she was actually the woman who spoke up during the town hall just before the party animals broke in and shot up the place. And as Alfred is watching him in the shadows from an alley across the street, he's thinking to himself that he should kill him right now. But then he gets a text from his daughter, which totally breaks his train of thought, and she tells him to never contact her again. And with that, Alfred changes his mind and walks away. But he doesn't walk away from Bruce entirely, because he just decided to not take him down in that moment. Because now in the starlit night, high above the clouds, there are skyscrapers that are currently under development, and Alfred has tracked Bruce to this location. Now, I love how the writers have now recreated this so-called bat cave, because it's not necessarily a cave hidden in the ground, but it's like a cave hidden in the sky. And it fits perfectly with this Batman suit capability, because earlier on in the issue, we were able to see that he was able to fly, or at least glide. But as Alfred makes his way to Bruce's location, Batman meets him halfway with that high-tech tactical shotgun that he took from him the previous day, and he has it pointed at Alfred. Now, Alfred knows by studying his battle tactics with his run-in with the party animals that Bruce isn't a killer. But as soon as Alfred vocalizes that, Batman shoots him in the face with the shotgun. But Alfred realizes instantly that he's not dead, and that this Batman had totally ruined his shotgun by reconstructing it to make it non-lethal. It may not be lethal, but it's definitely able to do some damage, because instead of being loaded with buckshot, we see that it's been loaded with bat shot, because Alfred's face is peppered with bits of bat shrapnel all over it. But to add insult to injury, Alfred hears something very familiar, and that's the roar of his own motorcycle. That same motorcycle that was stolen at the beginning of the issue and is being driven by its new owner. So that means this whole time as Alfred is watching Batman, thinking that he's tracking him, Batman had a lead on Alfred's whereabouts and intentions way before he tried tracking down Batman. So our new Dark Knight uses his new vehicle, drives it through a window to form bat-like wings, and glides off into the night. Now at the last page of this issue, we are given a glimpse into what to expect next, because we see Alfred communicating with his handlers, and they're letting him know that his previous target that Alfred took 5 years to track down is now in the wind. Now, it's not Alfred's fault because he was very close to catching him, but the powers that be decided to take him off that mission to put him back in Gotham City to follow up on the party animals. And this individual from this previous mission is very dangerous, because this person trained under the assassin Henry Ducard, as well as with the League of Assassins. And after all that training was done, this individual killed Henry Ducard as well as the League of Assassins. And we're getting a glimpse at this individual right now. And we see some banter going on between these helicopter pilots, sharing what they know about this guy, because apparently he is one of the 30th richest men in the world. And the oddest thing about this guy is that he never laughs, which has earned him the nickname, the Joker. And that concludes issue number 1 of Absolute Batman. And I was really excited for this series. This issue was phenomenal, from the art, the dialogue, the story, and I'm hoping Absolute Superman and Wonder Woman do just as well. And definitely go and pick up those issues from your local comic book shop to give them the love and support that they deserve. And I thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.